Right now, 160,000 American homes are sitting in complete darkness. No power, no heat. And a winter storm that meteorologists are calling unprecedented is about to get worse. In the next 25 minutes, you'll discover exactly when this Arctic blast will hit your area, which states will see temperatures drop 50 degrees in 48 hours, and the 3 specific dates in January when the most dangerous cold will arrive. Here's a number that should shock you: 3/4 of an inch of ice. That's the forecast for parts of Pennsylvania and Maryland starting tomorrow. 3/4 of an inch might not sound like much, but let me tell you what that means. That's enough ice to snap telephone poles like toothpicks, enough to bring down power lines across entire counties, enough to leave hundreds of thousands more people without electricity in the middle of winter. And your first reward for watching, at the 5-minute mark, I'm going to reveal the exact timeline of when temperatures will plunge below zero across the Midwest, and which southern states will see hard freezes that could devastate crops. You need to know this. But first, let me tell you what's happening right now on the West Coast, because it's almost biblical in scale. California is being hit with what can only be described as atmospheric warfare. Tornadoes. Yes, tornadoes in California. Winds gusting to 80 miles per hour, feet upon feet of snow in the mountains, and mudslides that are literally erasing roads from existence. 2 more landslides reported in the last 24 hours. Power outages climbing, entire communities cut off. And here's the twist. This isn't ending, it's intensifying. The tornado threat has expanded. We're talking a 2% probability zone covering northern, central, and southern California. Now, 2% might sound small, but in meteorological terms, that's significant. That means conditions are favorable. That means the atmosphere is unstable enough to spin up tornadoes with very little warning. Cities at risk right now: Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sacramento, San Diego. When was the last time you heard about tornado warnings in these cities? It's rare, it's unusual, and it's happening today. But while California deals with this onslaught, there's something even more dangerous brewing, something that's going to affect 100 million Americans in the next 72 hours. An Arctic blast so intense, so widespread, that even Texas is going to see freezing temperatures. Even the Gulf Coast is going to wake up to frost. Even Florida is going to need to protect their citrus crops. The question isn't if this cold is coming. The question is, are you ready? Here's what's happening in the next 48 hours. And pay attention, because this timeline is critical. Tonight, freezing rain begins to develop across northeastern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. We're talking 1/10 of an inch of ice. Roads will become skating rinks. Travel will become treacherous. By tomorrow morning, that freezing rain spreads into Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Sleet mixes in. Snow begins to fall on top of the ice. This creates layers of frozen precipitation that make everything exponentially more dangerous. Tomorrow afternoon, the ice storm intensifies across Pennsylvania, western New York, northern Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. This is where the forecast gets truly alarming. 1/4 of an inch of ice is the baseline prediction. But some models are showing 3/4 of an inch in certain areas. Let me explain what 3/4 of an inch of ice actually does. Trees that have stood for 50 years will snap. Power lines will come down by the thousands. Transformers will explode from the weight. And when the power goes out in winter during an ice storm, it doesn't come back quickly. We're talking days, potentially weeks for some areas. And here's something most people don't realize. Ice doesn't accumulate evenly. One neighborhood might get 1/10 of an inch, the neighborhood 2 miles away might get 1/2 an inch. It depends on elevation, on temperature variations, on 100 different microclimatic factors that make forecasting ice storms one of the most challenging things meteorologists do. Now, while the ice is falling in the northeast, the western mountains are getting absolutely buried. Another 4 to 5 feet of snow for the higher elevations of California, Washington, and Oregon. The Cascades are getting pounded. The Sierra Nevada is building a snowpack that's going to be measured in tens of feet, not inches. Idaho, western Wyoming, Nevada, western Montana, all getting a foot or more of additional snow. Some areas could see 2 feet in the next 48 hours. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is where you need to start paying very close attention. Right behind this ice storm, right behind these snowfalls, there's a wall of Arctic air moving south. And I mean Arctic. We're talking temperatures that haven't been seen in some areas in years. Saturday evening through Sunday morning, the cold arrives. And it doesn't just arrive, it crashes in like a freight train. Temperatures will drop 40 to 50 degrees in less than 48 hours across the southern states. Areas that are in the 60s and 70s right now will be below freezing by Sunday morning. The high temperatures on Sunday, not the overnight lows, the high temperatures will be dangerously cold across multiple states. We're talking highs in the 20s when normal highs should be in the 40s and 50s. We're talking negative temperatures in the northern tier states. And here's what makes this particularly dangerous. Wind. This Arctic blast is bringing sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour. Those winds create wind chills that can be life-threatening. When the actual temperature is 10 degrees and the wind is blowing 35 miles per hour, the wind chill can be 20 or 30 below zero. At those temperatures, exposed skin can get frostbite in less than 10 minutes. Being outside becomes genuinely dangerous. Now, remember that promise about revealing the specific timeline? Here it is. This is critical information that could save lives, could prevent property damage, could help you protect what matters most. Sunday morning, negative actual temperatures arrive in the northern plains. We're talking North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, northern Wisconsin. Actual air temperature below zero. Wind chills reaching minus 20 to minus 30 degrees. This is dangerous cold. Life-threatening cold. But it doesn't stop there. That cold continues pushing south throughout Sunday. By Sunday evening, freezing temperatures reach all the way to Texas. The Dallas-Fort Worth area could see temperatures at or below 32 degrees. Northern Texas could see the upper 20s. Monday morning, this is when it gets truly widespread. Frozen temperatures from Washington state all the way across to the East Coast. Northern Texas, still frozen. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, all below freezing. Even parts of Florida will be flirting with frost. The high temperatures on Monday won't provide much relief. Most of the Midwest and Northeast will struggle to get above the 20s. Some areas will stay below zero all day long. That's a high temperature below zero. That's rare. That's dangerous. That's the kind of cold that strains infrastructure, that causes pipes to burst, that puts massive demand on electrical grids. Tuesday morning, the coldest morning of this entire event. This is when the Arctic air reaches its maximum southern extent. Freezing temperatures are forecast as far south as central Texas, all across Louisiana, throughout the entire South. Even coastal areas that rarely see frost will wake up to temperatures in the 30s. But here's your wind chill map for Tuesday morning, and this is what really matters for human safety. Wind chills below zero extending all the way into northern Florida. Wind chills in the negative 20s and 30s across the Midwest. Wind chills potentially reaching minus 40 or colder in the northern states. At minus 40, which is the same in both Fahrenheit and Celsius, exposed skin freezes in under 5 minutes. At minus 40, car batteries die. At minus 40, water pipes burst even in well-insulated homes. At minus 40, you don't go outside unless it's absolutely necessary. Now, while all this is happening, there's another threat developing, and this one could produce significant snow for millions of people. A low-pressure system is forecast to develop Sunday into Monday right along the boundary between the Arctic air and the warmer air to the south. When you get a strong temperature gradient like that, when you have cold air crashing into warm air, the atmosphere becomes unstable. Storms develop. And in winter, those storms produce snow. Lots of snow. The European model is showing this low-pressure system tracking further to the east, which would bring heavy snow to the mid-Atlantic and northeast. We're talking 6 to 9 inches for eastern Pennsylvania, central and northern New Jersey, New York, Long Island, and southwestern Connecticut. But the American GFS model has a different idea. It's tracking that low pressure further west over Illinois. If the GFS is right, the wraparound snow on the backside of the storm could dump significant snowfall across a different area. The Midwest could see the heaviest snow instead of the Northeast. This is one of those situations where a 100-mile shift in the storm track makes the difference between 6 inches and nothing. This is why winter forecasting is so challenging. You can have the pattern right, the timing right, the moisture right, and still miss the forecast because the low-pressure center tracked 50 miles further east or west than expected. But regardless of which model is correct, regardless of exactly where the heaviest snow falls, one thing is certain. The cold behind this system is real. It's intense, and it's going to affect everyone. Let me show you something that should concern anyone living in the agricultural areas. This freeze is coming at a time when some plants have been fooled by the recent warm weather. In parts of the South, trees have started budding, flowers have started blooming. This is December, and spring-like weather has confused the natural cycles. When this Arctic air arrives, when temperatures plunge from the 60s to the 20s in 48 hours, those buds will be killed, those early blooms will be destroyed. This affects fruit crops for next year, this affects ornamental plants, this affects the entire ecosystem that's been disrupted by abnormal warmth. Farmers are watching this forecast very carefully. Citrus growers in Florida are preparing to protect their crops. Peach farmers in Georgia are calculating potential losses. This isn't just about being cold for a few